All right, hello everyone, how are you? Should have fixed this earlier. Oh, it's so great to be here. Appreciate everyone who is watching at home. Thank you to the media who is here at the American Airlines Center in beautiful Dallas, Texas, home of the Dallas Stars, who are playing quite well in the NHL playoffs. I am Ariel Helwani. It is a great honor to be here for the first press conference leading up to the massive Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz boxing match on August 5th on DAZN pay-per-view from right here inside the American Airlines Center. Let us not waste any time off the bat. Let's get this party started. First off, let me welcome to the stage the disruptor himself, the international superstar, the problem child, Jake Paul. Woo. Hey Jake, long time no see. How are you? It's a pleasure. All right, Jake Paul in the house, and yes, my friends, this is real life. This is happening. August 5th, Dallas, Texas, Jake Paul versus the combat sports icon, the pride of Stockton, the one and only Nate Diaz. Nathan, it's nice to see you again. How about this? 2 years ago, you would have told me that this is a real thing. I would have laughed in your face, but my friends, it is a real thing, and it is presented, by the way, by Celsius Essential Energy Drinks. How about this? Let's open one up, shall we?
Drink Celsius.
Cheap plug. Oh, I hear it's fantastic. This is my first sip, Jake.
It's a vibe.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Got
you know
the orange,
yourself.
sparkling orange.
Oh my God. Most Valuable Promotions and Real Fight Inc. are partnering to bring you this mega fight, a fight that we thought a couple years ago would never happen, but it is happening. It is going down August 5th from right here inside the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas. It's the one and only, the international superstar, Jake the Problem Child Paul, going up against the combat sports icon, the man himself, Nate Diaz. Free at last, free at last. Nate Diaz is free at last. All right, so also on this card, which again will be presented by Celsius Essential Energy Drinks, it will be on pay-per-view in Canada and the United States via DAZN pay-per-view, distributed via DAZN pay-per-view, and also via all cable and satellite providers. Globally, it will be airing and distributed via DAZN pay-per-view. So that's the place to be if you want to watch this pay-per-view, if you're not going to be here in attendance, and I'm going to tell you in a moment about what you need to do if you want to be here in attendance. I also want to let you know that the co-main event was just announced last week, and how about this? It's one of the greatest female boxers of all time, the real deal, Amanda Serrano, defending her undisputed featherweight titles against the woman that she beat back in 2019, the New York legend herself, Heather Hardy. That will be the co-main event. Plenty more fights to be announced, so stay tuned for those announcements. Over 20,000 people have signed up for early access tickets, which go on sale today. 20,000. I'm told that previously this platform, the highest that they ever had in terms of early access ticket signups, around 4,000 or 5,000. 20,000 plus have signed up. Those tickets, you'll get a code via your email if you have signed up already. Those will be sent to you, and that will be on sale starting this evening, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Pacific. And I also want to let you know to the general public, Thursday, this coming Thursday, May 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, 10 a.m. Pacific, the general tickets will go on sale, and we expect them to go on sale very quickly. One last time, DAZN pay-per-view in the US and Canada, and all cable and satellite providers, and globally via DAZN pay-per-view. All right, all that business out of the way. Let's get to the guys that you're here to talk to and to hear from. Nathan, if I can start with you. You had a lot of options post your UFC career. You had a lot of different suitors. You had a lot of different opponents that wanted to fight you. Ultimately, why did you choose an 8-round boxing match against Jake Paul for your first fight post UFC?
My plan in fighting is always to fight the biggest name and the best fighters there are. I've been trying to get out of the UFC for a long time because I knew what I was worth, what fighters are worth, and what I should do. And it was a long road, but when I was on the way out, he was doing the biggest and the best things outside for fighting and in fighting, and I was glad I had a worthy opponent to make an attack on as soon as I got out.
And this is a co-promotion between Jake's Most Valuable Promotions and your Real Fight Inc. Your promotion, relatively new, to see it on the marquee, to see this come together, to see this be a 50-50 split. For someone like yourself that has been a part of the fight game for so long, what does this mean to you?
Yeah, I think everything with I appreciated everything that I've done and had to go through because it got me to the point where I understood and knew what I needed to do, what I wanted to happen, and what should happen. It's been done before, so people don't watch really the blueprints on how things are done, and I was watching it, motivated the whole time, and it was just time would tell, so.
MVP, Real Fight coming together, and Jake, we last saw you back in February, tough fight against Tommy Fury, and correct me if I'm wrong, it did seem initially like your heart was set on running it back with Tommy. Can you explain why you pivoted and went after Nathan Diaz instead?
Yeah, no, Nate Diaz was always the plan after Tommy. That was what I said even in the build-up to Tommy. I was like, it's Nate Diaz after Tommy Fury. So that was always the plan. This is a big fight. This is a fight that I've wanted for a long time. He got out of his UFC contract, and this is probably the biggest fight of the year, only topping me versus Tommy. So I want to make big events, big fights happen, and strike while the iron's hot. He was a free agent. Let's run it, make it happen, settle the shit talk, and I'm ready for war. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me out. Dallas, I love y'all. And I'm going to do what Conor McGregor couldn't do, and I'm going to knock this man out.
Do you feel, considering what happened in February, like there is more pressure on your shoulders to prove to everyone that you belong here, that you can have a successful boxing career, and that you can beat someone of his caliber?
100%. I'm filled with vengeance, ambition, hunger, drive more than ever before. I have a lot to prove, 2 chips on each shoulder, and it's do or die for me. Truly, this fight is do or die. I have to leave it all on the line, and I think that's the same for Nate Diaz. He's leaving the UFC on a win. He wants to come into this game, make a bunch of money, knock out the YouTuber kid, then go back and finish his legacy off. And that's why this is such an amazing fight. But I just lost, and if he beats me, then where does that leave me? So it's 2 people who can't lose, who don't want to lose, who never back down, who keep on fighting, and that's why this is war, and I'm ready for war.
And by the way, when you say do or die, do you mean if you lose this fight, you're done?
In my mind, that's how I'm treating it. This is the only thing I'm focused on, and I'm filled with that hunger, and I have more conviction now than ever of what I'm going to do in this sport. And when you're doing a lot of fights back to back to back, I'm knocking everyone out, putting them on their ass, making tens of millions of dollars, you can lose that hunger, and that loss reinstilled that in me. And I'm excited to come back. I said, don't judge me by my wins, judge me by my losses. So I'm going to come back, and I've been working in silence. I promise you that. I promise you I know what I'm capable, and this is going to be the best version of Jake Paul that you're ever going to see in the ring.
One last one from me. Nathan, just curious, did you watch his fight against Tommy Fury? And if so, what is your assessment of Jake's boxing skills at this point?
Yeah, I did. It was I don't even think no one won or lost. So it's like that's why I wanted to fight too. Because usually I want to fight the guys who won, but I don't think anybody lost in the fight anyway. So, and I think that was a hard fight to take was Tommy Fury because not a very big deal.
I feel you. All right, guys, let's go to the media. And the way I like to do it is I'd love if you guys can say where you're from, what outlet you're from, and also what your name is. Let's keep this classy here. That's what they do for the big press conferences. So we've got a couple of microphones roaming about, and I do believe we have our first question asker right over there. Take it away, Mike.
Mike Bond with USA Today and MMA Junkie. Start with Jake. Jake, before you fought Ben Askren, you were saying that this fight was inevitable. It was going to happen one day. People called you crazy, delusional. Is it surreal to be sitting up here across from Nate and actually have this come into fruition?
Yeah, look, that's what people have said my whole entire career. So I'm used to it. I'm used to the non-believers, and I've always said exactly what I'm going to do, and then I've done it. And so, yeah, we're finally here. I predicted the future, but it is surreal, you know, and I had to put in the work to get here, and I'm just excited to be here putting on massive events, and this is just the start of what I'm going to accomplish. So everything else I've said still holds true as well, and this is proof of that.
Jake always says it's, you know, himself versus MMA. Do you feel like you're representing MMA in this fight, or do you want people to look at you now as Nate Diaz, the boxer?
Yeah, I didn't like the build up to his last fight with Tommy Fury because they were stereotyped. Well, I was taking offense because I was being stereotyped as an MMA fighter. Tommy Fury, I think, was saying like they're MMA fighters who he's fighting. I'm like, first of all, these guys are saying how. I was offended because he was saying how the other MMA fighters are not boxers, but Anderson Silva would whip Tommy Fury's ass. So that was kind of stupid. But I don't like being stereotyped as an MMA fighter. I always like the art, each art. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and I would have been a pro boxer when I was 18 years old, but a cage fight came up first, so I was stuck in a cage my whole career, and. There were times, but I got locked out in contract right away by the UFC, so I was already locked down from the beginning. I wanted to get out and do boxing, but it was contract after contract, and shit just kept chain reaction the whole time. I was just locked in longer and longer. So I've been going to boxing gyms since I'm 15 years old, sparring pro boxers, and I don't think I've ever got my ass whipped at a gym. In a boxing gym, and not came back and been the last guy to win the rounds. So I've always wanted to box, and like I said, I feel like I was a pro boxer the whole time. Every fight I fight in MMA, I was training just like any boxer trains for a boxing match, sparring pros, hitting mitts, running, and doing all the boxing workouts, and more sparring than probably anybody, and that was just a part of the time. The rest of the time I had to do all the other shit. So yeah, I'm glad I get to come here and showcase my skills in boxing.
Jake McEngle from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. You've obviously done something that no one really else has done, which is create this niche of boxing events that hadn't previously existed. So in doing that and talking about your boxing legacy, have you thought about maybe moving forward eventually where you take on guys who are classically trained boxers and maybe their background isn't crossed over into MMA, or is this what you want to do and you'll do as it best fits to make a big event?
Yeah, I mean, Nate's classically trained in boxing, like he just said. He's been in the gym since he was 15 years old, you know, sparring guys like Andre Ward, Regis Progress. So he's a classically trained boxer. That's what he's known for in, you know, the UFC. So basically, I want to throw big events, yes, but at the same time, I'm taking on fights to challenge myself and doing things that people with the number of fights that I have aren't doing. You know, which is taking on hard opponents. You know, I'm not just taking on these guys who are journeymen who have, you know, these terrible records. And I'm going to fight the biggest names in the sport and the best competition, and I'm just getting started.
Jake, Akib Ghazi out of Houston, Texas. You lost a close split decision fight against Tommy Fury. How do you see yourself preparing for a fight against Nate Diaz? Is your training camp, is it going to be different? Are you changing people in your camp?
Yeah, for sure different. I've switched up pretty much the whole entire team. Brought in new people who are going to hold me accountable for my mistakes that I'm making in the gym. And you know, even down to the nutrition, strength and conditioning coaches, all that has been switched. And I believe I learned a lot from the last fight, and I'm just implementing those things into my training camp and not going to make the same mistakes as before.
If I could follow up briefly with that, I know you're back with the great Sugar Shane Mosley, who's in attendance, who was instrumental at the beginning of your career. Why did you go back to Shane?
Yeah, brought in Shane and third, Theo Chambers, as well as Jay Leon on the team. And I was talking with Shane after the fight, talking with Jay Leon, talking with third, and they all identified the same, you know, little mistake that I was making in the boxing ring that needed to be fixed, which would allow the rest of my mistakes that I was making to be corrected. And so once they were all on the same page, Shane was, you know, free, you know, and was, you know, willing to come in and do this full time. So we assembled the Avengers team, and things have been great now, and I feel like a whole completely different fighter already in just a short amount of time. And you know, we still have 88 days until the fight, so I'm excited to keep on working, and this is going to be my best performance yet.
Mr. TBA with the Spit Bucket Podcast. Nate Diaz, you've been one of the best combat fighters for the last 20 years. Do you take it as disrespect when you hear other media in here questioning whether you could be in the same ring as with a Jake Paul when you've been doing this for years?
Yeah, I'm the best fighter to ever fight in the UFC. Straight up. I've been on all levels. I've been fought
your record
everybody.
doesn't agree with that.
And
You're like 32-15 in the UFC.
yeah, brother. But what's up? It's the same decision losses like you just lost. Did that guy really win?
You got 15
Almost
losses.
of those fights.
You got 15 losses.
Yeah, but who'd I fight? Top 10. I've been fighting the top 10 guys the whole time. I probably fought 5 guys in my whole career that weren't top 10, and I wasn't top 10 there either. So I've been fighting the best guys. Do I deserve to be in? What he's asking. Do I think like? Come on, man. What the fuck you talking about? I'm about to fight fucking